Happy Halloween! 'Tis I, Rodney Anonymous, once more coming at you from the murder basement. First of all, do not be alarmed. The rest of the band are fine. They're good. Somebody was under the weather last week. Not the case this week. What happened was they called me up in the middle of the week, and they said, Rodney, you know Saturday's Halloween. I said, yeah, I know it's Halloween, my favorite holiday. And then they said, yeah, you made a video last week. And I said, yeah, I did. And they said, it didn't completely suck. And I said, thank you. And they said, how'd you like to make another one for Halloween? Because we'd like the week off. And I said, I'd like the week off too. And then they said, listen up, Uncle Fester. You didn't do squat on Punk Rock Girl, and we've been writing you checks for 30 years. So how about you go and you earn your keep? So if you saw last week's video, then you know what we're going to do. We're going to look at 15 horror movies. We're going to break those down by 5 categories. And the fun starts right now. You know, there was a time when vampires were actually cool before they got all sparkly and, oh, they're all in love. And let's just return to that time. The first vampire movie I'm going to recommend to you is from 1974, and it's Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter. Please, somebody out there in Hollywood, please reboot this movie. Actually, somebody out there in Hollywood who isn't Rob Zombie, please reboot this movie. This movie is great. They throw out a lot of vampire lore, you know, that you saw in every other movie before it, and they have new vampire lore. They basically say, all right, look, all vampires are different. This vampire does that. This vampire does this. There are ways of tracking them down. It is just really, really good, really, really innovative, and God, I wish they'd made sequels, but they didn't, and that's why I am bitter. Okay, our second vampire film is Lemora, A Child's Tale of the Supernatural. It is from 1973. Look, I'm wearing the shirt. Yay! This is just a weird, hallucinogenic film, like most films were in the 70s. I actually walked through a blizzard once to meet the director, and I'm glad I did. This is a fantastic film. It's got the world's weirdest bus driver, and he's like, and people got a weird look to them. I don't like to go there. Yeah, just if you can, seek this out, find it, and watch it. You will love it. And the third vampire film that I'm going to recommend to you is a film called Near Dark. And Near Dark was made in 1987. And if you watch most vampire films, vampires have money. They live in a castle. They live in a manor. Look at the house that they live in The Hunger. That's like, that house is probably bigger than David Bowie's actual house was. Just you know, they've got cash, except in Near Dark. In Near Dark, they're broke. They're cruising around the Southwest in a mobile home. Probably what vampire life would really, really be like. So yeah, I'm going to definitely recommend those 3 to you. Then I'm going to learn how to speak. Look, got my Ronnie James Dio mug. Don't know how well you can see that. Movie families that are weird or disturbing, like Psycho. If Norman Bates' mother had just bought him the Hot Wheels that he wanted, you wouldn't have Psycho. It wouldn't be a movie. So we're going to do like the most disturbing movie families now. 1974, you saw it coming. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And a lot of you are thinking, well, that's not really an original choice. But don't focus on the weird cannibal family. Don't put them aside for a minute and think about Sally and Franklin. Franklin is probably the most disturbing person in that film. He is so annoying. I would rather spend a week sitting around the table with the family, you know, the actual cannibal crazy, you know, that grandpa hit her family, than I would spend 10 minutes in that van with Franklin. And I have a theory that they were actually just taking Franklin out to the woods to kill him. So next time you watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, think about that. And if you've never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's a very important film. Here's a fun fact. That voice at the beginning, that's John Larroquette, who was on Night Court and did a bunch of stuff like that. I think they gave him a bottle of whiskey and they told him, try to sound like Orson Welles. But if you've never seen it, super important film. It actually changed cinema. See Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. Forget the reboots and remakes. Skip those. All right, so the next film with a messed up family is Spider Baby, also known as the maddest story ever told. This is a great little film, and it flies under the radar. A lot of people have not seen it. Let's put it this way. When Lon Chaney Jr. is the adult in the room, you know your family has problems. And the late, great Sid Haig is in it. I think it was like one of the first films he ever made. And everybody tells really great stories about how nice Lon Chaney was when they were making it. And there's a scene where Lon Chaney gives a speech, and it is some incredible acting. Lon Chaney Jr., a lot of people, oh, he made some terrible films. But this is not one of the terrible ones. One of the great ones, and I can't recommend it enough. All right, the next film with a super messed up family is from 1973, and it's called The Baby. And there's a good chance that if you actually see this film, you're going to hate me. It is disturbing on a whole new level, but you need to seek it out, and you need to see it because, really, as far as messed up families go, I would say the family in The Babies probably way more messed up than the family in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. At least they eat people. They have a purpose. Whereas in The Baby, what they're doing is just plain wrong. When I first thought about having a separate category for comedy horror movies, I thought, oh, there's so many bad comedy horror movies out there. There's Love at First Bite, Dracula, Dead and Loving It, Medea's Scary Halloween 12. They've made a lot of those. Just not great stuff. And then I thought, wait a minute, there's some really good ones. There's Tremors, The Trouble with Harry, Arsenic and Old Lace. That's amazing. For Christ's sake, there's Shaun of the Dead. So there are some great ones out there. Here are three of my favorite comedy horror films. The first one is from 1985. You knew it was going to make the list. Return of the Living Dead. Yay! Trash is getting naked again. What do you think? This is just a costume? You mean the movie lied? There's so many great lines in this movie. It's probably the most quoted horror movie of all time. I love this film. If you look in the background, there's great little Easter eggs. If you look in the office, there's a poster that says Bert is a slave driver. Hell, there's two friends in it named Bert and Ernie. Send more paramedics. It's just one great thing after another, and it really just revigorated the entire zombie genre. So please, you got to watch it. I want to run upstairs and watch it right now, actually. I'm kind of tempted. All right, the next one on my list, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is from 2010, and it gave us the line that a lot of people use all the time, which is, Officer, we've had a doozy of a day. You've seen horror films where college kids go out to the woods and they're threatened by creepy rednecks. Well, this totally flips the script on that. And it says, all right, what if the rednecks are really nice and the college kids were just a bunch of screwed up idiots? And that's what you got there. And it is extremely funny. And I waited too long to watch this film. And then one night I was up, I'm going to give it a try. And I'm like, oh, I was an idiot for waiting. Don't be an idiot for waiting. Go seek out Tucker and Dale versus Evil from 2010. Yes. All right. And the last film on my list of comedies I'm going to recommend is a film called Stiches. Now, Stiches is from 2012, and Stiches is much better than It for scary clowns. Stiches is a story of a kid's party clown who dies. I don't want to ruin anything for you, but dies in a very interesting way, and then comes back for revenge, and it is killer. Every second of this film is funny and absolutely brilliant. It's got everything you would expect in a film that involves young people. It's got the mean kids. It's got the worst house party of all time. It's just everything just keeps ratcheting up as for how bad things can go, and Stiches shows up and makes it even worse. So yes, if you like killer clowns, skip It. Pennywise is okay, everybody floats down here, Georgie. But nothing is good as Stiches. So, while the Hays Code was adopted by Hollywood in 1930, it was ignored for about 4.5 years. And those were the greatest 4.5 years in cinema history. In fact, you'd have to wait until the late 60s, early 70s before you got films that were as good as the pre-code films. Dracula, Frankenstein, those were all pre-code. technically the code was there, but we call it PreCode because they didn't crack down until 1934. And in 1934, they said, okay, everybody has to live on a farm and no couples in the same bed unless the man has his foot in the floor. I'm like, well, what if it's two dudes? All right, well, both dudes have to have their foot in the floor. Well, if it's two women, well, somebody has to have their foot on the floor is the point. All right, so and you can probably still do it with your foot on the floor, but I digress. All right, so my recommendation, the first PreCode film I'm going to recommend is from 1933, and it is called Mystery of the Wax Museum, and it is so wonderfully screwed up. There's actually, Glenda Farrell gets, I think, third billing in this movie, and that's a shame because she is totally the star of it. She plays a boozing news lady who just tears everybody a new one. At one point, there's a couple having a discussion. The guy's like, is that a new dress? And the woman's like, well, I think I've worn it before. And she just walks by going, well, thank God that's settled. So yes, again, you couldn't make this movie after the code was enforced, but God, it is glorious. And I'm skipping over the horror elements. You've probably seen the remakes of it. It was remade in 1953 with Vincent Price, and then it was remade, I think, in 2005. That remake has Paris Hilton in it. But it's the idea. We take a corpse, we cover it in wax, but imagine seeing that in the 30s and seeing that just done for fun. I mean, you know, like really relishing it. This film was actually filmed also in color. It was a 2-color process, and it was lost for a long time. They finally found it. They restored it. You can find it. You can watch it. All right, the next one on the list, Gooba Gabba, One of Us. From 1932, it's Freaks. Again, another film that they couldn't make after the code. The lesson in Freaks, of course, is if you're a short man like me, don't date tall women. No. A lot of short guys, you see them, you know, oh, look at that, there's a short guy with a model. That's going to end in murder. So yeah, Freaks, I'm still amazed. A lot of people have not seen Freaks. It still holds up. It's still very disturbing. It was in and out of the theaters. Todd Browning, who made Dracula, put it out there and people got upset. And if you see it now, it's a very understanding film, and that's what he wanted to make. He wanted to make a film understanding about people who are different. And every time you do that, people get angry. I wonder why that is. Okay, the last film on my list is from 1932 as well, and it's The Old Dark House. This is James Whale, who made Frankenstein, also made this. In fact, the actor who played Dr. Pretorius, what a queer name, from Bride of Frankenstein, is in this movie. And again, it takes place in an old house in Wales. A bunch of normal people wind up having to stay with a crazy Welsh family. And I mean, they are bizarre. It was made in the UK so they could actually drink. So there's a lot of references to booze that you wouldn't have in America because of Prohibition. But yeah, it's PreCode. It's fabulous. Seek it out. It's really, really good. It's got Boris Karloff in the role of a mute butler. What more do you need to recommend it? Okay, folks, finally, I'm going to leave you with some hidden gems. These are 3 films that not a lot of people have heard about, but they really deserve some love. And the first one on the list is from 2016, and it's The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Amazing little film. It stars Brian Cox. Now, Brian Cox was the first Hannibal Lecter. If you ever see the film Manhunter, and I think he's the best Hannibal Lecter, but people get angry at me all the time. Anyway, it's a great film. Somebody drops off a dead body. Coroner and the coroner's son have to kind of figure out, wait, there's some weird stuff going on here. And, well, it escalates quickly. Okay, so next on the list is from 2017. It's called Terrified. This film is from Argentina. Everybody has seen a haunted house movie. But have you ever seen a haunted neighborhood movie? That's what this is. And it is great. The idea of, gee, what if this house was haunted? Next door was haunted, next door. So yeah, property values go down quickly, but it is really, really good, really, really innovative, and something new and fresh, which is what you need. And the last film on my list is a film, this is like, definitely want to say last, but not least. This is a film very close to my heart, and it's Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Now, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things was made in 1972 by the great Alan Ormsby. Alan Ormsby worked on Death Dream. He wrote the script for My Bodyguard. I have synthesizers that I call the Ormsby. That's how much I love Alan Ormsby. And it was directed by Bob Clark. Now, Bob Clark, you might not know this, he actually created the first sort of slasher film, a film called Black Christmas, but he also directed Porky's. And so he started the teen sex comedy thing. Then he directed A Christmas Story. So that they show that every year. Bob Clark. And Jeffrey from this movie, who gets to say, I peed my pants. He's actually gets to utter the famous line, you'll shoot your eye out, kid, in A Christmas Story. There is so much to love about Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Most zombie films, there's a rational explanation. Somebody said, well, there was a satellite, a virus. Nope. In this film, they just get Satan to do all the work. All right, everybody. Probably the last one of these you'll see for a while. But please have a happy Halloween. I want to say have a safe Halloween. Halloween shouldn't be safe. Have fun. Have fun. Safe Halloween is not a fun Halloween. So long.
We accept a one of us. We accept a one of us.
Gooba gobble, gooba gobble.
We accept her, we accept her. Google gobble, Google gobble. One of us, one of us. Google gobble.